Hey everyone, and welcome to this Google Hangout. My name is Vanessa Simpkins from TakeYourPowerBackNow.com, and today I have a special guest for you and a wonderful chance for you to pick up a copy of my free book. My book is coming out today, and you can grab a copy for free. It's called Take Your Power Back Now: How to Overcome Your Resistance to Creating a Life That You Love. It's the ultimate confidence guide for women, and I'm super jazzed to be able to give you a copy for free today. When you order and just pay shipping and handling, you can find out all about it at takeyourpowerbacknow.com/book. And today I have one of the most fantastic experts to share with you. It's a woman whose work I came across when I was taking my power back in an abusive relationship, and her work just opened up worlds for me. So I'm so excited to have her here on the call with us, Patricia Evans. And let me introduce her to you. She's an amazing woman. She's a best-selling author, a consultant. She's got 5 books in print with over 1 million readers. Newsweek praised her first book, The Verbally Abusive Relationship, calling it groundbreaking because it introduced the term verbally abusive relationship to humanity. And she gave the name to the insidious and epidemic oppression that affects the lives of millions. And you know this, if you're in a controlling relationship, an abusive relationship, I want to share with you how you can take your power back and thrive. I wrote a bit about it in my book, and I'm so happy that Patricia's here to share all of her in-depth wisdom and knowledge that she has to help you make the transformation in your life. And she's presented throughout U.S., Canada, Australia, Spain. She's appeared on dozens of national television shows, including The Oprah Show, CNN, and she's presenting insights and information that she's gleaned with more than 30,000 people. Some people who have contacted her from Czechoslovakia and Peru and New Zealand and China. And so, Patricia, welcome to the call today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's such a pleasure to be here. And as I think about taking our power back, I think where it might begin, if I might mention this, is that it's in our being able to define ourselves, to be self-defining, to not let anyone else define us. Somebody might say, oh, you're too sensitive, or you want to start a fight, and actually they don't know what you want. Only you know that, and your God knows that, but nobody else does. And nobody knows how you're made, or if you're too sensitive. Nobody knows any of these things that so commonly define women and sometimes men. And
Right.
so my books, they illustrate what that looks like in relationships and so on, and what's going on with the people doing it. But this Take Back Your Power is such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful concept, and the timing is perfect. It's perfect because we all could use more power and we
Well,
could take back any that was taken from us.
your book was, came at a point in my life. I read Patricia's book, Controlling People, and this was when I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. It turned physically abusive once, and I share that story in my latest book, Take Your Power Back Now. And your work completely it was like looking at my life through a sci-fi movie. It's like I woke up from a sci-fi movie, and I just, you've written so many books, you've helped thousands of people around the world. I'd love to let the listeners into a little bit more about you and how did you come into doing this work?
Well, it was sort of like a little miracle. I had only heard one sentence in my childhood that defined me, and that was once I was about 14 at a little restaurant. My father said, "Would you quit yapping?" And I was so offended. I got up without saying a word, and I walked 10 blocks home in the dark and hoped that they would think I ran away. And I was so offended. I'll still remember it. And but I did hear comments made to other people that would put people down. You're never going to amount to anything, and you're doing it all wrong and stuff like that. So I just, in the contrast to the way I was raised, for some reason, this never happened to me, and my mother was just like a saint. She never would have defined me in any way, in any negative way. And so I thought, I want to help people. I love people. I love people, and I want to help people. I wonder what I should do. So when I got into grad school, majoring in psychology, I was looking around for what kind of classes show us how to help these people who kind of lose themselves when they're defined in a negative way, especially from my knowledge, just what happens to people in childhood. Because I was, no longer a child, but I could look at all this and say, where are the classes? What's the course? What do they talk about? What do they call it? And so I looked around, I saw nothing. I met with a professor, Dr. Carl Putz, who passed away in 2010. And the late Carl Putz, was a wonderful, wonderful man. And when he was a philosophy professor, and I asked him, well, you know this university, you've been here a long time. Can you tell me what the courses are that would help me to help people that are put down and so forth? He said, oh, I know what you mean. I was told to be seen and not heard, and that affected me all my life. I said, wow, yeah, that's awful. And he said, yeah, I'm a professor and it still affects me. And he said, it's really verbal abuse. And I said, I guess so, it is. It is verbal abuse. And but where would I learn about it? He said, well, there's nothing out there, so why don't you write a book that would show people how to recognize it? That would be something. And I thought, that resonated. That was like a gift from the universe, those words, because they resonated through me so completely. It felt perfect. I could do something that was new to the world, which would be part of my psychology and my astrology, or whatever you want to call it. I like new things. It would be helping people. I like that. It would be relating to people. I like that. So I started doing research, and I went to various group things like Al-Anon meetings, and afterwards I'd ask the people there, have you ever been put down, and what did you hear, and so on, and ended up collecting a giant pile of notes and putting it together and coming out with my first book, The Verbally Abusive Relationship. And it took off like crazy, and within 2 months I was aired on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and so it went. So it was really launched through the media in those days, and now it's in its third edition and selling like hotcakes.
And it
Because
is such a huge topic, and I
it's a
think
huge topic. People
it's
don't know what it is when it's happening to them. You
well,
know.
I think that people, you talk about being defined,
Hmm.
and verbal abuse, and I imagine, I know, that there's a lot of shame around the topic.
I think
So
that no, I think that's been true in the last, say, I introduced it 22 years ago. Now there's a slight shift so that people are realizing, gosh, doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs, all, these are all women, it happens to be that contact me mostly, but they can all be verbally abused. They can all end up in a confusing relationship. Even psychologists and a psychiatrist have contacted me saying, it seems like this is what's happening to me. So I'll do a consult and we'll figure it out. But it doesn't matter how highly educated, and they're realizing there's nothing to be ashamed of, because they weren't looking for somebody like this. They aren't attracted to abusive people. The fact of the matter is, what I discovered, which is brand new to the world, is that there's a switch that takes place between when the man you're with is courting you and when he feels secure. When he's got engaged or married, or you're having a child, or you moved in together, when one of these incidents occurs and he feels really secure, that's when he projects himself into you with his lost self. That is the warm, receptive, nurturing, emotionally available, intuitive self. So much of him is projected into you that you become literally his other half. And when you don't match this projection, if you ask a question that the other half of him already knows, it sounds crazy, but he flips out. He can be angry or irritable or give you the silent treatment or put you down. So the thing is, there's a massive amount of projection going on in some of these relationships, and it's extremely confusing because the partner, and even if it's a man abused by a woman, the partner thinks she can explain it. She can say, wait, I didn't put that there. Why are you yelling at me? Or, you didn't tell me that before. That's why I'm asking you. Or, no, I don't want to argue. I wanted to just tell you that it bothered me when you were so late and didn't let me know. So she's trying to explain things. And he's feeling attacked by every explanation. So what's a girl to do? She doesn't know what to do. She tries to explain things, but it always makes the relationship worse. And if she tells him how she feels, it makes the relationship worse because he gets so angry. Because guess what? When she's explaining or when she's telling him how she feels, she is showing up as a real person where his projection lies. And his projection is an amorphous, ever changing, need meeting part of him, you could say. The part that's in her, his extension, so to speak. This part of her is supposed to make him feel whole and complete, but this is all at an unconscious level, barely conscious, if conscious at all. Because the people I talk to when I'm helping them get into my program of healing, especially the abusers, the people who indulge in these words, they don't know why they do it. They don't know why they get so upset. They don't know why they get so angry. They just don't know. And so as they learn about this in controlling people, and they read that, and they do all this reading and get in a support group for people who do this, they start to heal and they get intensive therapy and all. But for us to find ourselves, I think, and to take our power back, we're still doing that. Yes, we got the vote, and yes, we get to go to college. These things were taken away before. We got a little power back. We don't even get equal pay for equal work. So we haven't got all our power back politically or financially, and it's time we got all our power back by defining ourselves and knowing about ourselves. I think as women taking their power back, it's important to know that many more women every year are graduating from college than are men. Men are not the defining people.
I want to go back to what you just mentioned here. What do you call, I read this in Controlling People, and this is, I'm so happy you started talking about this because this was my big eye-opener. When you started defining, when you started putting, that this thing was actually real, that there was a name and like a process and this like crazy insanity that you've been living, Vanessa, it's actually like a psychological term. There's actually, this is a thing. It exists. I thought, oh my God, I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy. What do you call this? That experience that you just described, where the guy is projecting onto, or the person who's controlling.
When the partner's feeling like I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I better see a doctor or something. It's crazy making behavior, and they are feeling. They're just feeling disconnected, and it's a verbally abusive relationship. That is the name that I gave to this kind of interaction. We've always had, now and then in the world, somebody will say somebody was cussing and swearing, and that was verbal abuse. They might say that in some book somewhere, but nobody had ever identified a continuous pattern, no resolution, and a continuing kind of being put down or being defined in some way. Did you know that on that there was a racial rant on a tape that went viral all over, and it was Sterling putting down his partner and telling her she couldn't take an African American to a basketball game. Do you remember that going viral? Well, that that was everywhere on the air for a few days, and he lost the ability. He was not even allowed to go to a basketball, one of their NFL or let's see, whatever you call it, their basketball programs. So anyway, but during that rant, he defined his partner in at least 11 times. And he would say, you want to argue, you're trying to fight, you want to fight, you want to argue, and some other statements. So I once wrote up a little thing on that. I haven't done anything with it, but nobody's noticed that he was actually psychologically raping his girlfriend or whatever, her partner or whatever she was at the time, over and over and over in this rant. And what everyone noticed, of course, was the terrible racial slurs and so forth that came out of it. But what was really also noticeable was just how many times he defined her. In 2 minutes, 3 minutes, he was defining her a half a dozen times.
So the defining is the verbal
telling her
abuse.
what she is, thinks, feels, wants, is doing, needs, knows, should do, is like, and so on. That's defining. You are too sensitive. You want to argue. You're trying to start a fight. You think you know everything. It goes on and on. It's all negative you statements, or you don't care, or you're not tired, or you don't feel that way. Who on earth could tell another human being how they feel? When you hear that, no wonder you feel like committing yourself or something. Women have. They have felt suicidal. They have taken in and somehow heard their abuser and not realized this is a lie told to you about you.
That's so profound right there. And,
Mhm.
you know, so profound that this is a lie that's been told to you. And in that, my book, Take Your Power Back Now, talks about the power of decision. When we give our power away, it's because we've decided some external force is either more powerful than us or is a problem. And that is the moment where we give our power away. And so
Yeah.
by making new decisions to take your power back now, and what I like about what you just said here, Patricia, is that, when other people define us, you shouldn't feel this way, you're always like this. That's the moment of decision right there, when we believe it instead of not believing it. So my question to you is, could you give the viewers or the listeners a process or a tool or a way, how could they, if they find themselves in a verbally abusive relationship, if they're finding themselves being
What are they going
defined,
to do?
yeah, how can they move into a more empowered state to take their power back and start, making change in their life?
Yeah. Well, here, I'm going to give you 3 things. Okay. One is to just say, someone says, oh, look at that, miss. You are so sloppy. You're a lazy whatever. What are you going to say? I'm not lazy. That doesn't work so well. So what you say is, that's what you say. It's ridiculous. Okay. Or you can simply
Hold on a
say,
second. I'm going to write that down. That's what you say. Ha ha
yeah.
ha ha. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you're like I am, I'm kind of a little secret actress here, and I just go, like that. And then the next thing is, let's say you're interrogated. There's a certain type of abuser who's like asking you questions before you can answer them. Like, oh my, so where were you and who were you talking to and what were you doing there and why were you talking to them? And you can hardly answer the first question when your mind is spinning to get to the next question. What do you do? Here's what you do. You say, oh, sweetheart, please write down your questions and I'll get back to you later, and walk away.
Wow. By the way, Patricia's book, Controlling People, is all about these smart quips, the things that the tools that you empower people with, are phenomenal. My book that I have at home is earmarked, highlighted. So the second one I really like too. Oh, sweetheart, please write down your questions and I'll answer them for you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer them later. And you might go, when? And you say, oh, I'll let you know when I know. You don't have to buy into it. And the thing is, I mean, women are saying, I don't buy into it. I'm trying to explain that, I didn't do this or whatever. that she's being accused of. I'm not trying to start a fight. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can say nonsense when someone says you're trying to start a fight or anything like that. Nonsense. That's silly talk. It's baby talk, really. It's pretend talk. But you can just say nonsense, and that will, and walk away. So,
And what I love about these three keys that you've given us here, the third one, just saying whenever someone is trying to instigate you, because what people do, what controlling people do is it's like they throw a fishing, they throw this like line out, and boom, the hooks land, and the hook, they catch you when you react, right? When you respond with, you try and defend yourself, and it's never going to go anywhere.
Doesn't work.
No, they're never going to change, or it's just a way to kind of feed off of your energy. And
that's right, Vanessa, you say that so well.
And I love what you're saying here, because you're giving women tools to not even get hooked. It's like, oops, sorry, clink, and the barb falls down there, and you must, just walk away. But that's what it really is. It's not allowing yourself to be engaged with the insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, and even to understand what that means, being hooked in, or buying into it. And people will say, I don't buy into it, I don't buy into it. But what they don't realize is that you cannot explain yourself to an irrational person. And what could be more irrational than one human being telling another human being what they are, what they think, what they feel, what they want, what they're doing, what they should do? Nobody knows these things. So this is, it's really crazy talk. It's silly. It's junk.
I am encouraging all the listeners here, if you've been, tuning into this broadcast, I'm here with Patricia Evans. She is the author of some phenomenal books. Number one, Controlling People, and also The Verbally Abusive Relationship. She's been on Oprah, and she empowers people to not get hooked into the insanity of, the controlling relationship, verbal abuse, and it is a huge topic. I found this woman's work absolutely blew the roof off of my reality and really helped me take my power back and thrive, and I'm so happy that you're joining us here with us today, Patricia. You can find out more about her work at, the website is, what's the website again, Patricia?
Verbalabuse.com.
Verbalabuse.com. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm also, the book that I've written, TakeYourPowerBackNow.com, Take Your Power Back Now, is all about taking your power back. And
I love it.
And I'm going to include this interview with the book because it's phenomenal, and the frame of, how not to get engaged, I feel, is so important. And where can people find out more about you? Also, are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can go to Patricia Evans Author. That's my Facebook page. And also I post, when I post there, I tweet at the same time. And there's the 5 books. I just did a day-long seminar in Washington State. So as things come up, I post them. But also there's a free newsletter, and one just goes on verbalabuse.com, clicks on newsletter, and puts in an email address. So there's a giant database, and I don't sign up anybody, not my clients, because I do consulting, and no one, because it's a sensitive area. It's like being battered verbally, and many women say, by the way, it's worse. And so, worse to be constantly berated or whatever's going on, ignored and put down, than to get hit once every 6 months. They will say this is the worst part. They've even called me coming out of hospitals on that. So to find out more, there's a lot of video, there's a YouTube channel, all these things are linked up on verbalabuse.com, and then there's the 5 books, and on the second link it says Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, Book 4, Book 5. And it's good to read them in that order, and one can always call for an hour consult, which covers almost everything, because I talk real fast, and everything you might want to know, answers all your questions, and is only an hour of your life. And you could spend, people have spent 20 years going to various counselors who haven't read the book, so they wouldn't know anything about it, because this introduced it to humanity, both what it is and what the motives are and what's wrong with the person who abuses in controlling people, and the books that lead up to that, and the there's a healing book too that you might be a really good part of taking your power back, which just says you are self-defining, and it has information about that. But I think taking your power back is its time has come.
Yeah, and
It's time.
I really want to thank you for the tremendous impact that your work is making on the world, and just personally for myself. I thank you for
Oh,
doing what
and
you're doing, and for all the time and wisdom, and just time, researching and working with people. You are a storehouse of wisdom on the matter, and you're right. There are, thousands, if not millions, of women out there that don't even know that it's not okay. That they
right.
think that this is the way it works. This is how
Uh-huh.
relationships operate, and it's so
Yeah.
not true. And I love that we were able to spend time together. I wish we had more time, but we can do another one of these, because I
I
have so
love
many
it,
more
Vanessa. We
questions
can
for
do this
you.
anytime.
Yes, and I want to encourage anyone who's listening, to visit Patricia's pages, pick up a copy of her book. If you do find yourself, in this insanity, there is an end to it. It can stop. And this woman has some very powerful processes and tools and tips to help you change your mindset and change your behaviors and not get hooked into it.
Oh,
And I tell
yes.
you what, when you do, when I left that relationship, I actually had so much more energy now to
Oh,
build my business.
did you feel a
All
lot
of that.
younger after you left?
My
A lot
God, I had a
younger.
whole new world. I had all this time and energy to myself. It wasn't wrapped up into, leaking.
All
It's like a
this
big
stuff.
energy leak. So I want to thank you, Patricia,
Oh,
for being
thank
here. I
you,
want to do
Vanessa.
another one of these with you, and encourage all the listeners, check her out, the verbally abusive relationship.com, controllingpeople.com.
Yeah, verbalabuse.com. Yeah.
Realabuse.com. Controlling People is the other book. And also, if you love the topic of taking your power back, go ahead. You can get a copy of my book, Take Your Power Back Now: How to Overcome Your Resistance to Creating a Life You Love. It's the ultimate confidence guide for women, where I cover topics on relationships, boundary setting, money, really
Oh,
how to take your power back and thrive in all areas of your life. You can get a
oh,
free copy today.
wonderful.
takeyourpowerbacknow.com/book. And
Okay.
I want to thank you all, and thank you again, Patricia, for taking the time to be with us
Thank
here
you,
today.
Vanessa, for giving me the opportunity to bring awareness to people. That's what I do. Love
And
it.
you do it very well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.